Hi everyone, welcome to my virtual session. Today I'm going to be giving you an overview on the professional services offering at 4D. So, first let me a little bit about myself. My name is William Taylor and I'm the technical account manager at 4D for the 4D US. And I've been working with the professional services team now for 3.5 years. Since I came to 4D, and that has allowed me to work with a passionate developer community on a variety of exciting professional services projects. Every project that we do is, well, let me just start by saying that no two projects are the same, and that's what keeps this job fun, and I'm always excited to talk about professional services. So, first, let me take a moment to discuss the motto that was given to us by Eric and Jim in the keynote presentation. So, our only goal, support your business. And we take this motto to heart. This is our goal, to support you, the developer, when you need it. So let me first start by saying that we're not here to take your projects. We are here to support you, the developer, by extending your reach to have bigger and better projects. We have never stolen a single project from a developer, and we generally work with the developer, and I prefer to work with the developer because they know the business logic, and the only time that we generally work by ourselves is when the developer has disappeared and we risk losing the account. So, hopefully that answers those questions. Next is auditing and okay. So the next is, so here are the three different types of services that we offer: auditing and consulting, 4D programming, and other technologies. So for the auditing and consulting, I'm going to break this down in a few different categories, and I'll do this for all of them. First, we have a deep code analysis, and I'll discuss that in more detail later. We have RFQ support, and that's for when you'd like support on getting those big RFQs or bids, and you'd like our support in helping you to complete your bid or your RFQ application. So if you go through the RFQ process, or you would like to go through an RFQ process, we're here to support you in that. Load testing and security auditing support. Load testing, so that's really interesting, we've done a few projects like this recently, where one of them was a very large French insurance company, and they needed to grow their client server application from 100 to 400 connected users. And as you know, this can create a lot of problems in an application, and they wanted to see how their application would run and test it to see if it could actually run with 400 users before going live. So what we did is we developed some test cases, we spun up a bunch of Amazon instances, and we're able to test the application, find where the issues were, in order to get the customer to be able to deploy it with 400 simultaneously connected users. So that's just an interesting example. And CAS, which is Quality Assurance as a Service, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. So next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 4D programming skills. So we are 4D and we know 4D. So these are the big headlines for what we know and what we do. We work on conversions and migrations. Conversion, we'll talk a little bit more about it later. Third-party maintenance, that's where you would like us to work on the maintenance of your application and you focus on feature development. We keep the application always on the latest version. Everything is, and we maintain the application to make sure that it's compliant with the latest version. Development, if you'd like us to do some 4D development for you that you just don't have the time for. UX UI design support. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later. That's an exciting service that we offer, and it can breathe a breath of fresh air into older looking applications. And finally, other technologies. So we don't know just 4D. We are developers, so we know a lot of other things. So mobile apps, we can bring your application to a mobile app, be it native, Android or iOS, or web development on a web using web technologies. Interfaces, and interfaces is really important because 4D doesn't just, a lot of times 4D isn't the only application running in your business or running in your client's business. 4D needs to interface with other things like QuickBooks, Sage, Blackbaud, all sorts of Tableau, as you've seen from my previous webinar if you were there. So we help you develop interfaces to other applications. And 4D for iOS. So that's a great V18 feature that I hope all of you are playing around with, and we can help you complete your application from the 4D for iOS environment. So that's just a quick overview of the services. And since we spoke last year, 2 years ago, I gave a similar presentation about professional services, but we have a lot of new things on, especially in the site. So the 4D website now has a dedicated professional services page for you to be able to go look any of this up. And also a place for your clients, if you say you're going to work with 4D professional services team, they can come here and look to see what we actually do. So it's good. And here's an interesting slide. So I also want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. So here's an interesting slide. So the global growth of professional services per year. So I started in 2016, and we were doing and in 2017 we did about 6% of our revenue was professional services, and now it's 7%. So as you can see, it's growing. And also we've grown in the number of projects. So as you can see, we've gone from 54 in 2017 to 83, which necessitates growth in our team. And so we've gone from 22 to 20 to 36 team members. And these are team members that are specifically dedicated to professional services. I myself am not included in this number, but this has necessitated us to grow quite quickly the professional services team. And we're doing this in a variety of ways. First thing we're doing is we are hiring mainly younger developers on the professional services team from university. So we're working with universities to offer internships to students to get the word out about 4D, teaching 4D in the schools. From those interns, we are taking them on. So we choose from the best of those interns. And we've also started working for the VIE program, which allows for talented, young talented professionals from France to work in our international subsidiaries like we have in the United States. So this has allowed us to grow the team in a very fun and dynamic way, and also to attract a lot of youth in the team. So really excited about that. Next, I'd like to talk about the number of projects per service. So the blues are a little bit confusing, but 23% of those blues were development projects. 20% were DCAs, were deep code analysis. And 25% were conversions. But as you can see, we're developing, out of those 84 projects, we are working on a lot of different types of projects. So all different muscle groups of the team are being worked out. So, as we spoke earlier, we're hiring people generally from school that don't know 4D in the background. But with that, they bring with them a great amount of experience, and they're able to support you working with the technologies that your clients are also asking. So, this is just a quick list of skills that we have looking at their resumes. So, of course, they know 4D. We teach them 4D. We know 4D. And then also, we have a lot of different technologies here. So, DigitalOcean for hosting, OneSignal for SMS messaging, React if you want to, Docker, all sorts of C++, anything that you want, pretty much we're able to hire from the school. Or we're working with any technology that's currently on the market. We generally know a lot about it, or we have somebody on the team that can help us with it. So, it's been a real lifesaver at some points. So, so that's what we've been doing, and that's what we know. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've learned and the process that we put in place for professional services as it stands in April 2020. So at first we didn't have a lot of process, but now as we're doing more and more projects, we feel that we have a very well-defined process. So I'm just going to quickly go over it, so that way you can have this documented. So first thing we do is we sign an NDA. The NDA stands for a non-disclosure agreement, and that is between two companies or three or however many companies it needs to be, that says that we will not give out your information and you will not give out the information we provide you. So we have a confidential working environment. And we sign NDA. Sometimes people are a little bit afraid to sign NDAs, or they don't know what it's for. Rest assured that we sign NDAs with all sorts of with all of our clients, from large ministries to big, very large international banks with strategic 4D applications, to manufacturing. Just any and to single developers. It just protects both of us and protects your IP at the same time. And then we go through a GDPR process definition. So this is where we identify whether or not we will have personally identifiable information in the application, and then we work that process as needed. So we work internally with our legal team that is very knowledgeable in the GDPR process, and we define and respect whatever we set out, whatever we need to set out. And then we review your application, whatever the project, whatever we need to do. So we review that internally. There can be a back and forth, all sorts of things. And then we provide you a proposal in general terms and conditions. So once that's accepted, we start off the project with a kickoff. And this is really important because this is the first time that all of the teams are getting together. You, the professional services client, the team, and the project manager that's going to be dedicated to your account. Dedicated to this project, excuse me. Here we will define all of the roles. We will give a tentative planning. We will define if we need to meet regularly and when. So also everything that has to do with the project, you will be able to, from after this kickoff meeting, you will have all the information that you know about this project. And we'll highlight any risks that we associate with this project, if there are any. So then we start working. So then we do development on whatever it is that we need to do. And we give a delivery. And right after the delivery, so we request that you sign a certificate of delivery. And this certificate of delivery is really the transfer of the intellectual property that we're working on for you. So this is really the time when we deliver it to you. You can start to use whatever deliverable we do. If it's a updated application, if it's a widget, if it's whatever it is, it's yours now. Okay, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to test it. Once you sign the certificate of delivery, that starts the testing phase. Okay, and the testing phase or the integration testing phase. The testing phase is with you. We've already tested the application, but as you know, as developers, there are always things that happen when you install it on a real-life environment, so we're here to help you with that. Generally, we have about 30 calendar days of bug fixing that should allow you to test the fully test whatever it is, and then during that time, we have the same team is still dedicated to your application 100% as their top priority. Then we sign the certificate of completion, and then we have a 30-day warranty period. So that's the general process. And I think we've tried to make it as simple as possible, and we can track, and this allows us to track, and we've had a lot of success with this process recently, so in the past. So next, I'd like to talk I would like to take a few minutes to discuss a few different types of services that we offer. So the first one I'd like to talk about is deep code analysis. You probably heard a lot about it recently in marketing, in the keynote. It's a little bit different now. This is a really important service that we offer, and you may ask yourself, what is it? Right? So it is an independent and objective analysis of your application by a 4D expert. It's as simple as that. Okay, what does that really mean? It is a review of your report by a 4D expert that's assigned to your application, so someone with about 30 years of 4D experience that's been doing this for many years. They review your application, the source code, without the data, and they look at the client server logs or figure out whatever needs to be looked at in order to give you a full view of your application, what needs, weaknesses, strong points, etc. So, and the topics are defined as needed, but they are generally database configuration. So how is your database set up? Is your database configured appropriately for your environment, etc.? Coding patterns. How is your coding style up to date, following the latest coding patterns? Are you checking the lock set before deletion? Are you doing all sorts of things? So that all depends on you and your coding patterns, and we'll just highlight it there. Detection of memory leaks. So we have we're able to analyze the source code, your source code, and see if there are any potential memory leaks. And at the end, we provide you with a concrete action plan to help you achieve your goals of your application. So you may ask yourself, that sounds great. When do I do it? So if you're having issues with performance, so if your client is complaining about performance, we can review your application and give you what you need to know. If you're growing your number of users, if you're changing your deployment strategy from standalone to client server, putting it on the cloud, etc. If you're having issues with stability, so if your client is complaining that your database is crashing, that's not good for you, it's not good for us. So we want to help you fix that. If you would like 4D to help you with architecture support, so if in the future you would like to change the architecture of your application, use the remote data store, anything you would want to do to change the architecture of your application, we would like to have a baseline review first, so that way we can appropriately direct you to new architecture. If you'd like to work more closely with 4D, if you'd like to do more projects with 4D and you'd like us to know and we feel that we need to know your application in order to do that appropriately, and we require a deep code analysis. Or if you would like to sell your application and your buyer needs an objective opinion. So this has come into play a couple of times, in two different scenarios have worked out. So the scenario one is when the potential buyer is doing their due diligence, and they excuse me, and they would like to review the application, have an independent, objective analysis of the application, and they call us. They call 4D and they say, hey, I would like a DCA on this application. Now the DCA really is like a house inspection, where everything under the sun, any possible issue with the application is mentioned. We don't hold back. It's for a developer, made for a developer to make an application better. We don't really pull punches. So that's a little bit tricky, right? So if you know that you're going to be selling your application, it's better to be in the other case where if you know you're going to be selling your application in, say, 2 years, or you want to put it, if you have a potential buyer that's thinking about it, do a DCA right now, get it out of the way, and start to work on what we say. And then we can say, and then when they call it, when your buyer does potentially call us, or eventually call us, and requests a DCA, we can say, oh, we've already done that. This developer is being very proactive on fixing the issues. we highly recommend this developer or this application because it's gone through this process already. So I would prefer to be in the second phase if I were you. So the DCA process, because it's not a development project, it has a little bit separate process, and I'd like to just highlight it here. So we sign the NDA, like always. There's no GDPR process, so professional services proposal and general terms and conditions are accepted. We need your application source code along with the client server logs of a problematic or a large installation. And this allows us to be able to look at to see what's really important and where the potential bottlenecks are in the application when we do look in the code. We'll do a project kickoff and demo, and this is a quick 1-hour meeting where you, the developer, show off your application to the expert and explain what it does. Explain what it does and go through the settings. That's for us to have an idea about what the heck you do. So it's always interesting to see how 4D is being used, and it kind of makes the DCA more real for us, and can explain the reasons why someone may be doing things a certain way. So then after a little bit, we deliver the report, certificate of delivery, and then we have follow-up meetings as necessary. So that's something that you define with your account representative to have follow-up meetings, maybe monthly, in order to make sure that we're following up on the DCA recommendations and just to keep close. So once you do a DCA, what can you do? So you can do optimization. So a lot of people take it to do optimization, go through an optimization phase. You can fix the issues yourself. So we can provide the DCA in and of itself is a bit of a training, but we can also provide training on top of it. We've flown out on site to go to work with clients in order to make sure that the DCA made them as much sense as possible, and then they could take it and we train them on it themselves. You can change your architecture, as we spoke before. You can grow your application. You can go from that 100 to 200 users in piece. You can stabilize your application, so you can implement the recommendations to stabilize your application. We can start third-party maintenance, where we, as I spoke before, we maintain your application with you, and you focus on either getting new clients or working on feature development on this project. You can sell your company, as I spoke before. And in the worst case, we have had the unfortunate case where we have had to tell the customer that their application was not fit for purpose and it required a rewrite. So it's not what we want, but it's better to know before than after, we feel. So that's it about DCA, and let's take a step and let's go to conversions now. And a conversion, again, what is it? So the definition that we use is an isofunctional migration of your application from one version of 4D to another, generally the latest. So right now it's a version 18. So if you come to us with version 6, whatever, you say, hey, my application is still running, but my machine just died, and I need to convert my application to something that's modern, a more modern version. We'll say, okay, thank you. Say, awesome, love this, and then we will take the application and bring it up to 64-bit version 18. Version 18, which implies 64-bit. Oh, so here are just a couple conversion types of examples that we've had. So these are 3 different clients that we had in the European market. In Formavet, we're working really well with their version 13 application. They requested that they move to version 17, and they wanted to do the 4D write. They used 4D write a bunch, and as you know, 4D write there's no direct one-to-one comparison from 4D write to 4D write Pro. So that was kind of a large portion of their application. They decided to do that themselves. And what they did is they purchased they worked with us, all right? They worked with us in order to have sort of a training manual where we reviewed their use of 4D Right in their application and gave them a step-by-step list of what they needed to do to convert their application. It's their 4D Right Pro portions of their application. 4D Right portions of their application to 4D Right Pro. Hope that made sense. And then which means that they took it by themselves from 32-bit to 64-bit in version 17. GHS, they asked us to do the full thing, so just version 17 to 64-bit. And so that's just one smaller portion. Smaller. They didn't have the time to do it themselves. And then Eurolox, they went from version 13 to version 17 32-bit, and they're deciding whether or not they want to do the 4D Right conversion themselves. So as you can see from these three different types of examples, every single project is different, and every single client has different, and every single conversion is different, and every single client has different priorities. And so we're here to help you however you want us to see fit. Okay, that was that. So next thing I'd like to do is talk a little bit about UX UI redesign. And that is, so what is it? And it's a redesign to look and feel of your application. So so we all know that applications have changed. The look and feel of an application has changed from maybe when your application was written in the 90s. And I mean, your business logic can be great, but the application can just look dated. And I mean, vintage is good for some things, but generally it's not the best in computer science. So an example of this is that there was a Canadian company that I heard about when I was talking with the commercial team in France. There's a Canadian company that was going to sell their application, and the potential buyer loved the business logic, loved the way it looked, but just hated the way that it did things, but hated the look. And they said, that look is a deal breaker. I'm not going to be able to buy it. I'm not going to be able to sell this because it just doesn't work for us for whatever reason. So what the 4D developer did, as there weren't a UX UI type of person, they didn't have that design flair necessarily or time, right? They called us and said, "Hey, a sale's pending on a rewrite of just the aesthetics of the application. Can you help us?" We said, "Of course we can. We're here to help you as you see fit." So in about a month, we were able to provide a reskinning of their application. So and then the sale went through and everybody was happy. So that's what we're here to do. So I'm not able to show you that one, that application, but I will show you another customer that allowed us to show their application. And this is a large OEM, and this is a pretty cool project. So I'm going to get out of here. Oops. Bear with me, and I'm going to open the application itself. So the application itself, I'll log in, and I'm going to log in again. As I'm not deploying this application, and I don't necessarily have everything 100% set up, but this is just to show the application. So this is the front page of the application. As you can see, it has the polished steel look that was really common, and you have these really like heavy buttons. You have their application, and they called us and they said they would like some help on just reskinning their application. They want to go through the application. So we said, okay, let's see what we can do. So this company had previously worked with a third-party design firm, and they were able to provide a really good application, really good look and feel for the application. But then The difficulty was with that application was it was all using web technologies and not using 4D. And really, what we specialize in is rescanning and redefine the UX UI of 4D applications. So let me just go to a few more things. So I'm going to go into prospects. So this is the main screen. I'm going to go to prospects. Yeah, there are a couple things. Oh, oops. I'll get out of there. Bear with me. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go back. Cool. I'm going to go all records. So this is the way that the records were done, and we can see here that the polished screen, but you see things. There's no real. This is an application that has grown over a long time. It's a very successful application, and there's not a problem with the application itself. It's just that things grew over a long period of time. Things were added and added and added, and there. And as you can imagine, user design over functionality doesn't necessarily win. So we have the plus, anything that we want. So things just kind of look a little bit different. And not to say anything bad about this application, it's a great application that's doing very well. But let's just see what we can do with a couple days of design work with the team. So that's what the application looked like. And then I'm going to open up the application that we provided as a demo. So if we go here, I'm just going to go home again, just to start here. And I'm going to open something up in V18. And I'm going to go to the new home. Oops, excuse me. Run form. And this was the new form that we had defined. So as you can see, we have all of the same things up there, the same tabs up there. And these are just tabs, and these are using standard 4D tabs. And then we're able to have everything clickable and have all of this and remove the idea of having floating kind of islands of things that just kind of pop up from tab to tab. So we just moved everything there, and all of this is using 4D. And then we have an output and an input form, right? So also what we did is, let me run this one. So let me close this. Let me run this one. And this was the input. This was the output form. So as you can see here, this is done with subforms. This is done with, there's no this is done with all clean, just like more newer looking things. So we have all records. I don't have the records in here. We're not getting it. It's not to work. It's just to show you what it looks like. And we can click there, or I don't know exactly where. But this is the ticket selector, and then we can do that sort of thing. And then so these are all just really nice tabs, and it's nice to have it in 4D of itself. And then we have the input selector. We have so just kind of a little bit different look and feel to what we see. So we have that wasn't done. But so yeah, so as you can see here. And we don't only provide the 4D code to run this application, we also provide bear with me. We also provide a design reference documentation. So did this one. And we talk about the templates that we use. We talk about the tab control, how we set it up, and how we use new 4D things. We use object notation. And we also help define, that's the button bar, how that's done. So this really goes through and explains how we define applications in a more modern way. And then we have all of the fonts and everything that we need to know. So we don't just, so we take the application, we understand how the user wants to look at it, and we just kind of breathe a little life into it. And then the developer can take this away, work on it themselves, and then they can, either we can do the work for them or they do it themselves. So that's what a UX UI service looks like. That's the start of it, and then the development is either done by you, us, whomever. Another 40 developer, as you wish. So there's that, and I'm going to go back to my slides now. So you may be asking yourself, how do you get started? Well, we have many ways to reach out to us. You can always reach out to your account representative. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to whoever you want. But we have one thing that we started doing recently, and these are kind of quizzes on SurveyMonkey that allow us to get the information from you when you want to start a service. So we have a 40 migration report quiz. So this is a free service that we offer, and we tell you what you need to do to get your application to version 18. So if you need to go, if you're already 64-bit, we'll tell you what you need to do to get your application to version 18. If you aren't 64-bit, we'll tell you how to get to 64-bit and to version 18. We have a mobile and web readiness quiz. So this is just questions for you about mobile stuff. So if you want to talk to our team about mobile, this will allow us to get the information that we need in order to start having a conversation with you and call you back. And we have a DCA quiz. So this is the same thing. So we'll get the information from you, and then we'll see if a DCA makes sense for you. And you can always contact us at professionalservices@40.com. This is an email address that contacts your sales representative and your account manager, and they will get back to you. So that's the end of my presentation, webinar. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. It's a shame we didn't get to see each other in Paris or Chicago, but I hope to see you all very shortly. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.